Welcome to Churn Lane. Today we have an update. We have a new addition to the layout. This rather nice looking Class 25 diesel locomotive. This is second hand from a reputable eBay shop. So although this is second hand, it is advertised as being a sluggish runner with some noises coming from the fan end bogie. And all we're going to do is we're going to just give it its first run. Going to be a bit gentle with this just to see how it goes. So we're just going to give it a run along the exit road and see what the noises are. Okay, so I'm not going to run that any further. Yes, there is definitely some noise. It's more apparent going to the left side than it is to the right. So what we're going to do, won't run it any further in case we break anything else. This needs a strip down. So that will be continuing just shortly. Here we're going to start stripping down the Class 25 then. You can use a locomotive servicing cradle. For me, I'm just going to improvise and use the packaging that the locomotive came in. So first thing that you need to do is use a screwdriver, a long screwdriver, into these holes here. Okay, so that's the 4 screws removed. Then the body simply separates out. And here we go. Right, so here overall it looks really good condition. So what we're going to do now is progress to undo the bogies. Okay, so we're going to take off the bogies. So to do this, there's a little retaining clip which you can see just here on the back of the bogie. There's the same one on the front as well. It's going to be a little bit tricky to disconnect. So what we're going to do is typically place the screwdriver just underneath back here and just pull ever so gently and try and work around back of the clip. There we go. That's that one detached. And then just do the same on the other side. So just hook underneath around the back. There we go. Okay, so those clips are off. Let's place this back into the cradle. Okay, so first one off. Wow. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Here you can see what a mess this is. Okay, so that's the first one. Let's just undo this one, see what this one looks like. Lots of, so you can see here, it's like someone's been running around on a carpet. You can see all of this here, lots of dust, fibres. Don't want any of that in your gears. Okay, that chassis, this chassis here actually isn't all that bad. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, House of Horrors on this one. So we need to get the bogie out. And I think probably the best way of doing that will be to detach the wheels and remove the contact pickups from the side here. That'll unscrew, that'll release the cables, and then the whole bogie can come out. So let's do that. Okay, so we're going to detach these wheels. Now the wheels simply pull out. Just be gentle. There we go. There's one. much pressure, you don't want to bend the axles. Just a little bit of a wobble here and there. There we go. And then we're just going to unscrew the contacts. Okay, so that's the contacts off the side of the bogie here. Just going to remove this. Okay, there we have our bogie. So, just going to work on the one bogie at once now. Wow. Yeah, look at the state of this. So, this needs a full strip down. Let's go do that. Okay, so here we go. Bogie strip down then. So, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to push the pins out from the underside here. So each gear has a corresponding pin. Quite simply, all we're going to do is, I use a nice point here. Just push that out. Always do this onto a white piece of paper. You don't want to be trying to find pieces of your locomotives amongst carpet. Just give that a push, let the pin drop. Then just scoop the gear out. The fact that this is sticking to the other gears shows you that this grease on here has basically gone a bit like PVA, and the whole mechanism is just glued together. Okay, next pin. That might take a bit more force here. There we go. That's that one. And the final one. Again, big push. Pop that there. There. Okay. So, 3 pins. And then what we're going to do, okay, so basically all I've done here, 3 cogs, 3 pins. All right, just keep that in the foam block. I'm just going to try and see if we can get into the worm gear here. Oh, this is so sticky, honestly, it really is. There we go. Okay, so you can see lots of residual glue, and really my fingers are quite caked up here. This is just, it's literally like someone stuck it into Evo stick or something. All of this needs cleaned down, so we're going to have a look at doing that part next. Okay, so it's taken a good 35-40 minutes or so to clean this down. The grease that was on here, not oil, grease, was basically hardened solid, so it had almost gone to plastic. The gears here, they had a bath with some hot soapy water to try and loosen that dirt off, along with the worm gear here. That was successful to some extent, and then I had to resort to a small amount of nail polish remover just on a piece of tissue to actually work right into the worm gear here and just try and get right down into there to clean that out. This was actually solid down in the bottom, so that had to be scraped out with a scalpel to try and break this up. But that's all the gears cleaned down. You can see the difference with the wheel sets as well here. So they're now nice and clean. I cleaned up the back of the wheels also, just to make sure that we've got no residue sitting on the backs, because that's needed for the conductivity. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to look to push all this back together now. So the first thing that we took out was the worm gear here. So we're just going to push this back together and then pop this down into the assembly. Like so. There we go. Make sure that's okay to move. That's all good. There we go. That's that on. Then we're going to piece this piece onto the top. Here we go. Don't over tighten, it just needs to be held. There we go. Okay, so first part of the assembly is in. Okay, so here I use Woodland Scenics, which is a really light lubricant. Definitely don't recommend the likes of Pico Lube, because that is a heavier liquid, and that tends to, I've found in the past, cause things to become a bit sticky. So just lubricate around the back of the bearings and a little bit onto the cog. We don't need much, just enough to maintain the movement. Give that a few turns, let that bed in. Good, that's now running nice and free. Excellent, happy with that. Plenty of movement here, but I will just put a little piece of lubricant in on this. Good. Excellent. That's now nice and free. Plenty of movement. Happy with that. And now we just need to place the cogs back in. We're going to start off with the middle one first. So what to do, just push this back in. Gentle push in. Now the hard part. This is trying to line these up. There we go. First one's always the worst. And then just push this back so it's flush. There we go. Same with the other two. Bit easier now. Push that home in a minute. And the final one should just drop in. There we go. Push them home. There we go. Check for movement. All good. Okay, and then you can see everything looks nice and clean. Everything lines up. Happy with that. What we need to do is we need to pop this back in to the chassis first. The hardest part is getting this to drop back into the motor here. There we go. Okay, before we do anything else, I can turn this over. I'm going to get the screw put in to retain this. That's that screwed into position. Everything's retained. Okay, put one in. There, contacts back in place. And then we can put the wheels back in. There we go. So we're not going to put the bogies on just at the moment. We're just going to leave this as, because this all needs to be tested. Basically, everything we've done here, I'm going to repeat the same on this bogie, and then we'll give it a test run. Okay, so it's now time for its test run. So let's have a look. I'm going to position this onto the track, which is a little bit trickier when you don't have the mouldings on the bogies. There we go. Right, we're ready to go. So, first run. Okay, sounds a lot healthier from before we stripped this down, so really happy at that. Just going to check slow speed run. Perfect. It's really quite important for me that it performs well at low speeds for shunting. Yeah, really happy at that. Okay, so all that's really left for me to do now is to reattach the body. I'm going to position one of the figures up to the other end, so I've got a driver in each end, and yeah, we'll take it to the next part. So whilst I've got the body off, I'm going to install some directional lighting. So I've got some cab lights here, and I've also got some nano LEDs in red for tail lights. So I've wired those up to the track feeds, so here you can see the cab light is on and the tail lights are on the other end. Just switch the direction, cab light at one end, tail lights at the other. So all that's left for me to do there is tidy up that wiring. I need to build some blocks onto the inside of the cab here to take the lights and line that up on the bodywork, and then that should all be fine. See you soon. Okay, so we're just going to check our lighting, so I'm just going to switch everything off just here. Okay, so let's have a look. So going away, yep, I've got our tail lights and I've got a cab light, so happy with that. Just go up to the other end. Yep, I've got my cab light, and yes, I've got my tail lights. So there we go, quite happy at that. All that's left to do now is screw the body back on and reattach the bogies. Okay, so we've been and we've tested the loco and the layout just to make sure that the lights are lined up and working okay. Everything's fine. I've removed the body, it's just loosely fitted. And here you can see basically all I've done. We have the LEDs similar to the previous shot. LEDs on the front for the cabs. And then I've built some light bars here and just super glued these micro LEDs on. And they just run that around. No one's going to see the red tape anyway, so that's fine. It's just to hold everything in place so that the body fits nice. And all we need to do now is fit the body back on. So to fit the body back on, quite straightforward, just in reverse of what we did. You'll notice here we have a different format. So we have some 2 lugs here, and they need to marry up with the 2 lugs here. Okay, just to make sure that everything fits the way it should. So simply press that back on, make sure that's home. That's all good. And then we're just going to bring our box back in. There we go. Okay, and it's just a matter of replacing the 4 screws that we removed previously. Just drop these into the holes. Okay, don't over tighten, you just want this to bite slightly. There we go. Always work diagonally. Okay, that's those back in position. And then we just need to reattach the bogie chassis here. So these are the uncoupling, so we know which way round this needs to go. Always offer this on. You have a small lug here on the front. See it more a bit this way. So we need to make sure that when we're doing this, we're just offering this frame on at an angle to clip onto there. And then you'll probably need to press down, but use a screwdriver or something underneath at the same time, because what we need to do here is we need to lift the chassis up, because as we're putting pressure on, it's just forcing everything down. Okay, so we're just going to offer this back end to lift up slightly. You can see there that the clip's there. And gentle push. And there we go. That's that one clipped back on. Same on the other side. So again, uncoupler would go here. Offer this on at an angle. Screwdriver underneath. There we go. That's that one in place. A little bit trickier, that one. Right, so for me, I don't need the couplings on, so I'm not going to reinstall those, but if you did, you would just reattach them through to the holes, making sure they're onto the locating lugs. You can see I've already got the Spratt & Winkle bar here anyway, so that's irrelevant for me to fit those couplings back on. I'm happy with that. We know it all works, so we will go and give it one final test run just to make sure we're happy with it. See you in a minute. Okay, so we're all back on the track now. Everything's all put back together. We're just going to check the Spratt and Winkle coupling. Just want to make sure that the bar is at the correct height here. So, yep, you can see that's coupled on. Yep, that's gone over the magnet perfectly fine. You can see I've got the markings on the side of the track there for the magnet. That's fine. Yep, happy at that. Like I said, all of the lighting and everything's working perfectly fine. Yep, quite happy with this. So this is all done now. Next stage will be weathering.